Sheriff, I wanted to ask you about gang problems and drug trafficking. And, I know that in Portland, for many years, they said that they're not going to have a gang problem there because it's a California problem. And a lot of the funding that gangs use, or the method they use to fund themselves, would be drug sales. So I'm particularly concerned about lack of enforcement out in the county, or law enforcement presence, because I think that they will find a haven out there to do their business, and I don't want to see criminal gangs and drug trafficking with methamphetamine, and which I consider a very dangerous drug. And so, could you talk about that a little bit, please?
Sure. Well, first of all, gangs are here, but to the extent that we're seeing them in Portland and some of the other surrounding areas, it's not quite as prevalent. Gang is a universal issue. It's for the city police agencies as well as the sheriff's office. The fact that we have a jail that keeps people helps deter some of the gang activity up in the Portland area. Multnomah County Jail, they're metrixing those folks out. In other words, metrixing means they meet release criteria and they just send them out the door right away. So as long as we still have a jail that can hold them, that's going to help us some. With that said, though, we still have the issue of the city agencies and the county need to work together on being able to address those issues, with the loss of the county to be able to help back up the cities on some of these things, because we do have an occasional spurt of activity that occurs in the Monmouth area. We've had a little bit in Dallas. The other thing from the county side that's important to remember is that in the rural side of the county, that's where you can have things much bigger than gangs, and that's called terrorist groups. They can start to flourish and grow because county patrols aren't out in some of the far outreaching areas or up into our private timberlands, where a lot of these folks go to develop their bombs and test them, where they go to do a lot of their shooting. You might recall a few years back, it was a deputy sheriff that happened to drive up on a terrorist group that was doing a bunch of target practicing. And so, again, it's kind of that thing we talked about before. If there's less law enforcement presence, it allows other things in our society that we don't necessarily want to begin to flourish, because there's no fear of being discovered or being apprehended.
I would like to ask Sheriff, what are you going to be able to do with the monies when the levy passes? You're going to be able to hire a certain number of patrol deputies, and the district attorney will get some staff to prosecute. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You bet. This is the passage of this levy would restore the sheriff's office back to 24-hour patrols. Again, not right away, because it's going to take me time to hire these folks. But it will get us back to 24-hour patrol. We're slated to receive 12 patrol deputies. We'll get 5 additional deputies to work in the jail to help reduce my overtime cost and to provide court security. Something I really don't like to talk a lot about is the fact that we have very little, if any, court security in the courthouse, and that's not good. So we'll get 5 in the jail. There'll be 3 additional prosecutors added back to the district attorney's office with 2 support staff. So that's a total of 22 FTEs that would return. It does not take the sheriff's office or the jail back to the pre-2008 levy, or 2008 staffing levels. A lot of people keep hearing this number that, there's 78 employees, FTEs in public safety. And I saw the comment the other day where that was said, well, if the sheriff has 78 employees, why can't he provide 24-hour patrol? It's not 78 employees for the sheriff's office. I have a total of 4 deputies right now that work patrol, and it's backed up by 3 sergeants. So, and then I have another detective sergeant, and then a lieutenant and myself, and then I have some office staff as well. So right now, you know, it appears that I have, 12 employees working in the sheriff's office, but there's 3 that work in records. One's a civil deputy, there's another one that works taking care of property and evidence, and then there's my office manager that takes care of all of the bills for the sheriff's office. So 12 deputies will be restored to patrol, 5 to the jail, 3 prosecutors, and 2 record staff. That gets us back operational. It's not the best, but it certainly gets us back to the point where the DA can be able to address prosecution issues, and I can cut down spending overtime, and we'll have 24-hour patrol.